A bank branch just went empty in under 15 minutes. Why? Because they tried to turn away the wrong CEO. Watch how she dismantles the entire staff, one by one. Maya Thorne sat in the back of her sleek, obsidian-colored town car, staring out at the rain-streaked skyline of the city, her reflection showing the sharp, intelligent eyes of a woman who had spent 15 years clawing her way to the top of the corporate ladder, turning a struggling tech startup into a global powerhouse. And as the CEO of Thorne Innovations, she was accustomed to being the most powerful person in any room she entered. Yet today was different. She was exhausted, a weariness that seeped into her bones after a week of frantic negotiations and high-stakes board meetings, and she desperately needed to finalize a multi-million-dollar wire transfer for a charitable foundation she had founded to support underprivileged girls in tech, a task that required a personal visit to the city's most prestigious banking institution, a bank that prided itself on catering to the elite. And as she stepped out of the car, adjusting her tailored charcoal suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent, she moved with a quiet, lethal grace that usually commanded respect. Yet as she pushed through the heavy revolving doors of the bank, she was struck by an immediate shift in atmosphere, a palpable coldness that seemed to ripple through the air, and she walked toward the reception desk, her head held high, only to notice the bank teller, a man with a pinched expression and eyes that flickered with a mix of judgment and boredom, refusing to make eye contact, and she approached with a polite smile, prepared to explain her business, but before she could utter a single word, the man looked at her with a condescending sneer and stated that the bank was currently closed to solicitations, a blatant and insulting dismissal that hung in the air like a heavy curtain, and she paused, stunned, feeling the familiar prickle of systemic disrespect she had faced 1,000 times before. A reminder that no matter her net worth or her accomplishments, there were still pockets of this world where her skin color dictated the level of service she received, and she took a deep, steadying breath, reminding herself that she was not just a victim but a force of nature, and she realized then that this was not just a bad day, but an opportunity to dismantle the ignorance standing before her. And even as the security guard stepped forward, his hand resting on his belt with a performative air of authority, she didn't shrink or retreat. Instead, she stood her ground, her mind already calculating the next move, the power dynamic in the room shifting in subtle, almost imperceptible ways, and she knew that the viewers of her life story would be watching, and she wanted them to see that resilience isn't just about surviving the storm, but about becoming the storm itself. And as she looked directly into the teller's eyes, she felt a flicker of pity for the smallness of his world, a world where he thought he held power because he sat behind a counter, unaware that the woman he was dismissing was about to orchestrate the most satisfying professional takedown in the history of the banking sector. And if you are finding yourself drawn into this tale of grit and ultimate justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is far from over, and you won't want to miss a single moment of the fire that is about to burn down these walls of prejudice. So join our community of truth seekers and success-driven individuals who refuse to stay silent. Click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be the first to witness the turning of the tides. The silence in the bank lobby was absolute, a heavy, suffocating pressure that competition brings when individuals realize their foundations are built on sand. And Maya refused to let the humiliation take root, instead letting her silence become an impenetrable barrier that forced the room to adjust to her presence, while the teller's defensive posturing began to crack under her steady gaze as she elegantly reached into her coat pocket for her phone, bypassing his immediate supervisor entirely to pull up the direct contact information of the financial institution's regional board. And the ambient noise of clicking keyboards and hushed client murmurs drifted into absolute silence as onlookers began to notice the shift in power, sensing that the unassuming woman in the sharp suit was holding back an invisible storm. And her mind, sharp and analytical, ran through the bank's active corporate portfolios, reminding herself that her enterprise held the keys to their quarterly commercial success. And rather than engaging in an emotional argument that would only serve their biases, she documented every face, every name badge, and every dismissive gesture with clinical precision, setting a silent trap that would spring shut within minutes, knowing that the most powerful weapon in any negotiation is the calm, unwavering refusal to accept anything less than the respect she had earned. And if you are finding yourself captivated by this display of quiet power and are eager to see how the tables are turned on those who trade in prejudice, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because this story is far from over, and you won't want to miss a single moment of the fire that is about to burn down these walls of systemic ignorance. So join our community of truth seekers and success-driven individuals who refuse to stay silent. Click subscribe and turn on notifications so you can be the first to witness the absolute dismantling of this branch's toxic culture. Breaking her silence with a voice that carried the weight of absolute authority, Maya bypassed the trembling teller completely and placed a direct call to the executive suite, her words cutting through the lobby like a scalpel as she detailed the systemic failure unfolding before her, while the branch manager, finally recognizing the name of the tech conglomerate's founder, rushed from his glass office with his face pale and hands visibly shaking as he tried to offer hollow excuses for the blatant discrimination that had just occurred on his watch. But Maya merely raised a single finger to silence him, continuing her conversation with the bank's regional director on speakerphone, ensuring every employee in the vicinity heard their career security evaporating in real time as she listed the specific names of the staff who had refused to grant her service, and the immediate corporate directive came down like an anvil, freezing all localized operations and launching an instant executive inquiry into the branch's conduct. And as she stood tall amidst the chaos of panicked supervisors and whispering staff, she made it clear that apologies were no longer sufficient to salvage their professional futures, leaving the entire branch in a state of stunned paralysis as they realized the magnitude of the mistake they had made by underestimating a woman who held the power to collapse their entire localized infrastructure in a single afternoon. And if you are feeling the thrill of this justice being served and want to be part of a community that champions accountability and excellence, then make sure to subscribe to the channel right now, because we bring you the stories that the mainstream media is too afraid to touch. So hit that subscribe button, smash that bell icon for instant updates, and leave a comment below telling us what you would have done in Maya's position, and let's keep this momentum going together. The arrival of the corporate compliance team was swift and clinical, turning the once prestigious bank floor into a stage for an unprecedented corporate restructuring as security codes were instantly revoked, access terminals were locked down, and the branch employees were forced to watch in horror as their personal belongings were packed into cardboard boxes under the watchful eyes of high-level executives who had flown in to mitigate the damage caused by the branch's monumental oversight. And Maya watched the entire process unfold without malice or gloating, seeing it purely as a necessary corporate extraction of toxic elements that had no place in a modern financial landscape. While the teller who had initiated the conflict could barely look up as his termination paperwork was processed on the spot, his previous arrogance completely replaced by the harsh, shivering reality of immediate and humiliating unemployment, and the regional director, clearly terrified for his own career, personally escorted Maya into the main vault to oversee her transactions with an obsequious deference that was a stark contrast to the dismissive coldness she had received only moments before. While he openly lamented the loss of her multi-million-dollar account, scrambling in vain to protect the institution's public image despite the damage already being done by the staff's inexcusable behavior, and she left the building exactly 15 minutes after entering, leaving behind an eerie silence in a branch that was now effectively empty of the people who had dared to treat her with disrespect, a permanent monument to the heavy cost of prejudice in a world that no longer tolerates such archaic mindsets. And if this story of absolute justice and firm, decisive action has inspired you to stand your ground and demand the respect you deserve in your own professional journey, please make sure to subscribe to our channel right now, because we share these powerful, real-world lessons every single week, and we want you to be part of the journey as we explore what it means to lead with courage and uncompromising integrity. So click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you never miss a beat of our upcoming content, and let's keep this momentum going together. The aftermath of that day was swift and decisive, word of Maya's actions spreading through the city's business circles like wildfire and turning her into a symbol of resilience and uncompromising standards, while for the bank, the lesson was painful but necessary, leading to a complete and total restructuring of their diversity and inclusion policies to ensure that such an embarrassing display of ignorance could never happen again. Yet for Maya, the story didn't end with a simple victory. It evolved into a powerful legacy that she leveraged to launch a nationwide initiative partnering with major financial institutions to create transparent, equitable banking practices for minority-owned businesses, and her company, Thorn Innovations, saw an unprecedented surge in support from clients and partners alike, as people from all walks of life rallied behind a leader who had proven that she wouldn't be intimidated by anyone regardless of their status or position. And as she stood on the stage at a massive leadership conference months later, looking out at an audience of thousands of young, aspiring entrepreneurs, she shared her story not just to highlight the discrimination she faced, but to emphasize the absolute importance of standing tall when the world tries to shrink you, telling them that your professional identity is a fortress that you build brick by brick and that you must defend it with everything you have, because if you do not respect your own value, no one else will. And she saw the hope and fire in their eyes as they realized they too could be the architects of their own success, knowing that the bank incident had been a pivotal moment in her own life, a test that had crystallized her vision and forced her to confront the reality of the world she lived in with a new level of clarity and strength. And as she concluded her speech, the room erupted in a thunderous standing ovation, a sound that she would carry with her as a reminder of the massive impact one person can have when they choose to be brave in the face of adversity. And if you have been truly moved by Maya's journey, by her strength, and by her unwavering commitment to justice and excellence, then do us a favor and subscribe to our channel right now, because we share these powerful, life-changing stories of real people making a real difference every single week. And we want you to be part of the journey as we explore what it means to lead with courage and uncompromising integrity. So click that subscribe button, join the conversation in the comments below, and let's keep building a world where excellence is the only metric that matters. We are so glad you're here, and we can't wait to see you in the next video. So subscribe now, and become part of our growing community today.